Welcome in, everybody, to another Friday night episode of a preview episode live here, 410 Sports Talk, of course. None other than Glenn Martin, yours truly, James Haskell, and DK has decided to grace us with his presence this evening. It was unknown whether or not DK would make it because he is in places unknown as he is a busy man. So we appreciate him making it as well. And all of you guys for coming out tonight. Yes. We're excited to talk about this game and with hopes of putting the last week's game behind us and moving on. It will definitely be an interesting one and a lot to talk about tonight.
Yes.
So, I mean, normally what we do here, Glenn, is we get right into injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the best place to start. And that is right. We live.
Oh, we live.
Man, I can never say that and sound cool.
How did I sound? Did I sound okay?
You sounded way cooler than me.
Nice. Good to hear. I like hearing that.
Sure.
I always kind of consider myself to be
still a far cry from cool, but cooler.
Okay.
You sounded cooler than me. You see what I'm saying?
All right. Well, I'll take that.
Don't use me as your litmus test for cool, though, because
you're not a barometer for cool.
No.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get right into it here into injuries. So let's see. Where shall we start? DK, do you have anything for us? If not, that is okay. I think that you do. Loading. Before we get into injuries, let's talk about the most unfortunate news that we've heard all week, and that is Demaryius Thomas. Glenn, talk to me.
Yeah, disappointing. I mean, he's our age, Jimbo. I mean, you're talking about a guy who was 33 years old and had a 6-year period where it's hard to find anyone who had better numbers over a 6-year stretch than Demaryius Thomas, a Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, the favorite target of Peyton Manning when he was in Denver. And also, as Ravens fans remember, the game that Tim Tebow led the Broncos to a playoff win over the Steelers, Demaryius Thomas caught that 80-yard pass in overtime that put the Steelers away. So really sad to see. It's just way too young to lose your life. Apparently, I guess you heard reports it was some sort of a seizure.
Yeah.
Disappointing, man. I mean, it's just what else do you say? I mean, he's younger than me, actually, and that is just far too young to be losing your life.
Yeah, and certainly, I think what you mean by disappointing is not like disappointed in him. Really disappointing news in that
situation.
Yeah, it's just miserable. It's really sad, and you think about all angles. Obviously, you think about his own life, and you think about his family. I actually don't know if he had children or not. But even his family and loved ones, it's just got to be shocking. The whole Broncos community, the NFL as a whole, and the human race. I mean, just a tough loss. Last night it was a rumor that was swirling on Twitter, and it brought back the same feeling of when the Kobe Bryant rumor came out.
Oh, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it was really terrible and super sad. So rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. We wish him and his family all of the love and thoughts and prayers and empathy that we can afford them and send their way. So, man, just a tough one, real tough one.
Yeah. I mean, it's just tough. But all right, well, let's try and transition out of that sad news to a bit of good news that came out of Thursday night football, and that was, of course, the Steelers lose last night, but they certainly didn't go down without a fight. I mean, they go down, get destroyed in the first half. One of the worst first half performances I've ever seen from any team, and certainly the Steelers. But they damn near came back and made a real push to tie that game at the end. But luckily they lose, and so hopefully this kind of makes them less likely to really give 100% effort in that final game, because that could have been the nail in the coffin of them making the playoffs. But if I know Big Ben and I know them Steelers, if even if spoiler is all they have left, they'll certainly play that role when taking on the Ravens.
Yeah, I have no doubt that whatever their playoff chances are by the time that game comes around, they're going to be playing as hard as they can. You talked about Ben. It'll be his last game, certainly at the very least in a Steelers uniform. And who's going to pay him after this season? I mean, let's say what it is. Well, they've said this is his last season in the Steelers uniform, but he hasn't said that he's officially done, right? Like that's like the
Right.
the
Well,
thing.
he may play
No
some
one's gonna
flag
pay him. Who?
football.
Yeah, but who would pay him?
No one. No one would pay him. He's most valuable as a Steeler, and if the Steelers aren't going to pay him, then he's going to
Yeah,
be
I
playing
mean,
some co-ed
think
weekend football.
about what River or Phillip Rivers was when he went to the Colts, and
Right.
he looks like Lamar Jackson next to Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like,
Although I'll say in the fourth quarter, he looked damn good against the Vikings.
Well, that's the thing I've learned about Ben. I think in his age as a quarterback, sometimes you get up in age, just need a little more time, a little more runway to get up and going. That's right. That's all it is.
He needs 3 quarters to warm up, and then he's on fire in the fourth quarter.
That's
Certainly
right.
looked that way the last 2 weeks, no doubt about it.
But yeah, you're right. Some good news there. They lost, and nobody wants this division, Glenn.
No, it's a hot potato right now, and so let's get into this weekend because this is
absolutely
a huge determining factor in who wins this division. I mean, you got the Browns sitting at 6-6 and taking on a Ravens team that's right now was 8-4. This is a huge game, and a game that Cleveland in any circumstances, a team that plays you one week, has a bye, and plays you the following week at home should never lose this game. But because it's Cleveland, we got a chance. We got a chance.
Absolutely. So, DK, let's get right into the injury report for Cleveland. We can discuss that a little bit. And I think the areas to note here is the tight end room. Now, he's not on here because of protocol and kind of how that works. But David Njoku, I haven't seen that he's tested negative yet.
Correct.
I haven't seen that anywhere, and certainly he's got to test negative twice. Now, we saw it with TJ Watt at the last hour, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But so it could be happening. But then you compound that with Harrison Bryant, who has been I've heard that he's out. There's no way that he's playing this game. So just another tight end, and they run that 3 tight end set, I think, more than anyone in the NFL. Brad Ward over at All Eyes on Cleveland mentioned to us. That's a huge issue for them. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. I mean, even go back to the Minnesota days when Stefanski was there. He loves at least having 2 tight ends on the field, but like you mentioned, oftentimes has all 3. And not only is it, a big deal, for his offense, but it's a big deal for this team because right now, as crazy as it sounds, the best vertical threats that they have that are healthy enough to get out there is Harrison Bryant and, of course, David Njoku, who I think leads their team in receiving yards, which is just wild to think about when you looked at this team preseason.
Yeah.
And
he went
was
from
listed
demanding
as
a
third.
trade.
Yeah, he was listed as their
Crazy.
third guy. Now he's their leading receiver yards-wise. And like you mentioned, it's possible he can play, but I think it's even less likely than TJ because I think he had less time in between his tests. So I think he's even more at risk of missing than TJ was. But yeah, Anthony Schwartz is still out. He's another guy that is certainly a take the top off the defense type of guy.
And the one I really wanted to mention here, Glenn, sorry to cut you off there, is their center, JC Treader. I think that's another problem. And it has something to do with my breakout defensive player of the game that you will see later on. So make sure to stay tuned. But that's another big one, don't you think?
No doubt. I mean, they just lost Conklin. They haven't played a game, since a full game since his injury. So it's becoming a bit of a patchwork offensive line after going into the year is probably the strongest offensive line in all of football, certainly from a run blocking standpoint, but there are no slouches in pass blocking either. And then Malik Jackson also. I mean, that's another big part of their front seven, and he looks like he's going to miss.
Yeah, and of course, no quarterback likes pressure up the middle. They like to form a nice pocket. But when you're a quarterback that's on the shorter end, I think that becomes even more important. And so if you got pressure up in your face, namely number 93, who you only come up to his belly button. So that could cause an issue for one Baker Mayfield. And could cause him to be a little bit more of, I've said it millions of times before, his best enactment of one Russell Wilson, which only bodes well for us.
Yes.
They have some serious injuries going on here, and it will certainly make the game more intriguing, I think, because honestly, if they're healthy, based on where we are at from a health perspective, I don't know if I'd pick the Ravens to win. And that says a lot for me because I haven't picked against the Ravens once. All right, so let's move on to the Ravens here. DK, you got something for us that we can put up here with some background music and something really, really good. All right, let's see.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Havana Kedavra.
There we go. All right. So once again,
the icons are a lot smaller here.
Yeah, long laundry list of injuries. But let's start right at the top. The bit of good news is Anthony Averett returned to practice.
Our best corner.
And from what I'm seeing is see this report is a little bit different than the tweet that I'm looking. I'm looking at Jamison Hensley, and according to his tweet, Anthony Averett was a full participant and not a limited. But maybe that was referring to today. Okay, so I don't see Friday's updates on the screen, but apparently Anthony Averett was a full participant in Friday's practice. So it looks like he's on track to play, and thank goodness, because as much as people hated on Anthony Averett, right now we absolutely need this guy. He's our number one corner, and so it's good to see he's going to be out there. Nobody cares about Miles Boykin. Nick Boyle, he did not participate on Wednesday or Thursday, but then did have a limited participation on Friday.
Yeah, so he ran a couple laps.
Yeah, so what do you think the likelihood is that Nick Boyle might be out there this weekend? Really? Even with a limited participation practice on Friday?
I feel like I've seen it too many times this year. They come out, they come back, the major injuries, and they have a setback. And like Ronnie and, I think there's some other guys that I'm not thinking about right now. But, yeah, even Justice came back too early and then tore the Achilles. I just don't have – that's just such a traumatic injury. I don't know if I see it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And the other guy in the same camp as him is Patrick Ricard. Also missed the first 2 days, but did participate in limited basis on Friday. Now, I think he's more likely to go because it's a back injury. And usually with those back injuries, you just kind of, give him some rest anywhere you can. But as long as he participates in that Friday final walkthrough, typically he's good to go. And here's another bit of good news. Apparently, according to Jamison Hensley, the only player to miss Friday's practice due to injury was Patrick McCarry, who was already ruled out anyway. So everyone else who was DNP on Thursday at least got in a limited session on Friday. So maybe some bit of good news, but look, it's hard to convince any Ravens fan that there's good news on an injury front.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm there right now. All right, there you go. I think that's the update.
Yes, this is what I was referring to. Yep, exactly. Perfect. So you can see that first line right there talking about Patrick McCarry, he was the only one to miss. So maybe some of these guys can get back out there, and that would be much needed reinforcements. Because how do you do you think that first of all, John is going to have to put on his best coaching duties this week and going forward, because how do you keep this team from feeling sorry for themselves and getting down on themselves when they just lost their best defensive player after all the players they've lost up to this point?
Yeah, so that's interesting to me because I don't think it's as hard as one would think. The only reason is because I don't think you get this far without believing in yourself. I think all these guys look around the room and most of them have been superstars their whole lives, whether they're Lamar Jackson or the 53rd man on the roster, right? Like if you're in the NFL and you're on an active roster, you were probably a superstar for the majority of your life. And so confidence, there's no lack of confidence, I think, in this locker room. So I think that a lot of it honestly comes from within. I think these guys will be just fine. And one thing that I really look, Joe Flacco said it himself. He's not a rocket scientist. But one thing that Joe would always talk about is like, it doesn't really matter if you're a football player, like who you're playing or where you're playing at the end of the day. Once the game starts, it's just it's a game. Mm-hmm. There's really no other narratives that go on in your head. And that might just be Joe because that's Joe Flacco, and that's part of the reason why he wasn't up and down. He was very even keel. But I do think there's something to be said about that in that, look, once the whistle blows, the ball's kicked off, it's just football. So I'm hoping that the Ravens also have that feeling as well, and some guys step up that we might not even know right now, to be honest, right? Because it's coming down to that. But one thing I want to say, David, I see you in the chat there. Just want to let you know that your boys at 410 Sports Talk got you taken care of. You got a nice little present in the mail. And we paid a couple extra shekels so you can get it before Christmas, my friend. So nice. I hope you enjoy it. I think it'll become between the 17th and the 19th. But congratulations on the big win last week. So make sure you guys compete in our weekly competition that we'll be having coming up later on in the show. But we've gotten to the injuries, Glenn. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about now?
We're going to start talking a little bit of defense, okay? Right. Because, man, last time we played, the Cleveland Browns may have played their best and most complete defensive performance, and yet they still came away with a loss. So that's what I'm really going to focus on is last game's performance rather than talk to you about, the full season. Of course, I'll brush over that briefly. But really, I want to talk about last game. So, of course, last game, they had the 4 interceptions from Lamar Jackson. And then you had 2 sacks also on Lamar Jackson. Myles Garrett was consistently harassing him, but wasn't able to get home more than just that one time. And the same can be said with Jadeveon Clowney. He was a constant force in the backfield, but he never got home. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, their star linebacker who came out of Notre Dame and is just an absolute blazing fast athlete at the linebacker position. He had a half a sack to go along with 13 combined tackles. So to me, what I saw out of last matchup is that the team is just going to relentlessly attack the line of scrimmage and try and put as much pressure on Lamar Jackson as possible. But they kind of did so in a unique way. They didn't blitz as heavily as a lot. They still blitzed, heavy for their, for what they typically do. But they didn't blitz as heavy as we've been seeing from other teams because they know and they feel confident they can get pressure with 4. But this time I think might be a little different because just getting to 2 sacks to Lamar Jackson, I think showed that you're going to have to up that pressure rate a little bit. And I think they're going to start sending more than just their 4-man. Even though they had success with 4-man, they ultimately came up a little short in a lot of those instances. So watch out for some more blitzes, and I'm sure we're going to see blitzes from JOK, who I just mentioned, because of his speed. I think they're going to see some linebacker blitzes from that guy because, man, he's another guy when he puts his head down, he looks like a safety playing linebacker.
He does.
But yet he hits like a linebacker.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that, as the league morphs, you'll start to see more of those guys. But then teams like the Ravens come out, right? And they just, when we're healthy, we just run it down your throat. And then you got to take those guys off the field.
Yep.
So it's really interesting that way. But I'm glad you brought him up. It's not something that I think somebody on the outside looking in would consider a pivotal player in this game, just a national media folk or a person who's looking at the headline of this game. But yeah, he's going to be a big time player for them on the defense. Now we got to talk about the Ravens offense and how we're going to counteract that healthy and, stud filled defense here. So let me give you some statistics for the Baltimore Ravens offense. Because that is, of course, the matchup we're looking for. Right now, our offense overall is ranked 4th. We're tied for 3rd in rushing, 13th in passing, and 16th in scoring. So to give you guys some perspective from a numbers standpoint, and of course we do this with our Ravens every week. But, as far as as far as passing goes, we're at, let's see here. I just had my number and lost. Oh, okay. Here we are. For rushing, we're at 147 a game, which is still a significant.
What a facade that is, though, Jimmy. Is that not like the biggest, how stats can be deceiving? Is that not the most deceiving stat?
Hey, look, a yard's a yard, baby. But yeah, I understand in the non-traditional sense.
Like, I don't feel good about our run game.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. The Pittsburgh game, we had some moments, especially because everybody runs the rock on Pittsburgh. Look what Dalvin Cook did last night. Imagine what JK and Gus would have done. We would have thrown the ball 3 times.
Yeah, it would have been a Patriots performance.
So absolutely, yeah, it is a bit of a facade there. But what's not a facade, because the same guy that's running it is also the only guy throwing the rock, is as far as passing yards per game, we're at 240 a pop. So look, the Baltimore Ravens offense has had its recent struggles, but still productive and certainly in moments. And that really gets me into my key to the game. Glenn, if you don't mind, I'm going to actually, let's see here. I'm going to go right to my key to the game offensively. And it's really simply this: figure out the blitz and find the hot. Like it's football 101 stuff. And that's what has me encouraged. If it was stuff that we're asking Lamar to do that he can't do, then I would be concerned. But this is basic stuff he's been doing since high school. Maybe not as much in high school. So he probably just ran it for a touchdown or, every single time. But my point is that this is stuff that's taught at an early age and can be made easier for him with some coaching and some help from his surrounding cast. So my key to the game offensively against this defense that you talked about, figure out the blitz and find the hot. It's really that simple.
Yeah,
That's it.
and
I say it's that, you know.
well, it should be. I mean, you mentioned this is not something that should be new to them. Is how to deal with pressure, and this is something that in years past Lamar has been very successful at. You had a hard time blitzing Lamar because he always made the right decision. But I look at the last 4 games here. The Ravens haven't scored above 19 points. It was 10 points against the Dolphins, then 16 against the Bears and Browns, and then 19 against the Steelers. And the big part of that, and the common denominator is not being able to deal with the heavy blitz packages that we've been seeing since that Miami game. So when I see 4 straight games of it, and it's really not a ton of improvement in any of the it's got me concerned, Jimbo. So I 100% agree. Picking up and dealing with the blitz is a big factor. But to me, until I see them start to do that, I'm gonna go into what I think won the game last time the Ravens and Browns faced off, and that was their conversion rate. They went 4th and 3rd down conversions combined. They were 8 for 16. So they were 50%. They were 7 for 15 on 3rd and 1 for 1 on 4th down. The Browns, on the other hand, were about 30%. So I think that is ultimately what won the Ravens the game, is that they were able to convert on some huge 3rd downs and then a big time 4th down, because it was such a thin margin between these two that's where I think the difference was made. So if they're going to be faced with some 3rd and longs. They've been faced with 3rd and 7 as their average over the last 4 games. I think we're going to see more of that, unfortunately, until I see something from this run game, as far as being able to establish that in the beginning and then ride that throughout the game. I can't really bank on it, changing this week. So I'm going to say you need to convert on 3rd down, because you're going to be faced with some 3rd downs. Myles Garrett's going to pin his ears back. Jadeveon Clowney is pissed he never got to Lamar Jackson. I think he'll be amped, hyped, and ready to go. And they got speed. They got athletes all over the field. So I think they're going to be sending a very exotic blitz packages and using those speed athletes to run down Lamar Jackson. So you're gonna have to convert. So 50% conversion rate is what I'm looking for, and it might come down to if they can get that done or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one other thing that we omitted, Glenn, unless I'm mistaken here, is Greg Newsome also looks like he's still in concussion protocol, and the chances of him playing are extremely low. And he's, of course, one of their corners, their rookie starting corners. So that's another issue they have to concern themselves with as well. So an interesting matchup when it comes to their defense and our offense. Alejandro Villanueva, obviously someone to keep your eyes on in this game. He struggled mightily in the last game, and seems to be game by game with him, right? Like some games he has moments, others he just absolutely implodes. So it's going to be really interesting to see us run it back with the Browns, even though they haven't played anybody. And it feels like for us, it's been a year ago. But Ravens O's Nation says, I say is a must-win game. Can't have 1-3 AFC North.
100%.
Rico?
Record.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a tough one to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think about what the Bengals have been able to do so far in the division. They already have a tie. They already have 1 win against us. If they were to win another, it would be an uphill climb to get, this North. And I think it could come down to, if they don't win the North, they might not get in. There's so many teams right now competing for those wild card spots. It might be the easiest road to the playoffs is through the AFC North title. But yeah, I mean, this is a must. When you look at the schedule, this might be the most gettable game of all of them. I mean, it's brutal. You're talking this game,
and maybe the Steelers game at home, like theoretically. But we just lost to them, so it's like
exactly. So I mean, at least they know they've beaten the Browns, and there are the Browns after all, so they could just pull a Browns move. But you got the Packers next week. You got the Rams in there.
The Rams.
They're not going to be easy, even though they've had their recent struggles. And then the Bengals, which they already kind of put a whooping on us in our house. Now we got to go to Cincinnati. So he's right. This might be a must-win for the Ravens if they want to win the North. But let's get into our offensive breakout players, because we talked about their defense. But look, if Lamar Jackson is going to bounce back, he needs his cast, like you mentioned, to step up in a big, big way.
Yeah.
And so what I kind of did in predicting who my offensive breakout player was is who has been clutch all year long. And when he's been out there, Sammy Watkins has made big play after big play. He caught the touchdown in the Steelers game, which was almost the game winner if they could have converted the 2-point conversion. He caught
Yep.
the big pass in the Detroit game, setting up the Justin Tucker record field goal. And so I'm going to ride Sammy Watkins. I think Sammy Watkins makes a big play in this game, whether it's a big first down or hopefully a big touchdown. I think he's the guy who continues to be the safety blanket in those big clutch moments. It just seems like he looks at Sammy, or maybe the team just draws a play up for Sammy because they trust him.
Yep.
So I'm going to trust him as well. I think Sammy's my breakout player.
All right, I like that, but I'm going from the most seasoned wide receiver to the youngest. I'm going with Rashad Bateman. Obviously, there's been a lot of news about Rashad Bateman this past week with changing his agent, a lot of speculation, this, that, and the other, which we thought was a ton of madness. However,
you see how he countered that by filling his Instagram with new Ravens posts?
I did not notice that, but that's hilarious. But you know what that means? It means he saw it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he watches the show and agrees with us. That is a bunch of nonsense. Mm-hmm. But certainly, I think he gets it here. I think that this is the game with Newsome out, all the attention on Hollywood and Mark. I think he goes out there and he starts salivating at a second string corner that's going to be out there and starts showing us why he's the first rounder, and starts putting in work and finds the end zone for the first time. But overall, has a big game. I'm going to say, Glenn, I'm not going to give statistics, but I'm going to say he's going to have more receiving yards in this game than Hollywood Brown.
Well, it could come down to which one has the better yak game, which one can force the more missed tackles, because I'm not sure how much time Lamar's going to have. So they may have one of those quick hitting type of games. And if Rashad or Hollywood can make the first guy miss, it could be off to the races, and they could get most of their yards on the ground. Yeah,
and we know that Rashad has got wiggle. I mean, he might not be a blazer like Hollywood, but dude has got some loose hips, and he can make a guy miss.
Yep.
So exciting to see that happen as well. So that'll be fun to see. All right, let's keep moving on here. And then we're gonna flip the coin and talk about their offense versus our defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm excited about this one because the Ravens really could they have done a better job than they did in that first matchup. When you hold a team like the Cleveland Browns, who are, by the way, first in the league in rushing, and the Ravens were able to hold them to 17 carries for 40 yards. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And actually, now they're third in the league in rushing. But when they came into that last matchup, they were first. So it's amazing how one poor game in a bye week can drop you from first to third. But what's your confidence level going into this game when you hear Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and you also know that the Ravens did such a great job? Do you think that, man, they're like, man, they shut us down last time. We got to come out and show them something. Like, we got to come out. Like, do you think their ego, their pride, do you think that any chance the Ravens can have similar success than what they had last game?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, Glenn. I'm going to say yes because I think this defense is going to play with some real urgency. That the guys you've talked about this before, where like if a guy goes down, there's usually a short spike in an improvement. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with, if you're a real team and you start to rally around guys that get injured or that are out and things like that. So I think they see Marlon going out and they're like, look, man, we got to do something up front and control what we can control. And one thing that we can control is stopping the run. Mm-hmm. And especially with, we talked about Treader being out. We talked about Conklin being out. So they're struggling from an offensive line standpoint. So I'm going to say yes. Maybe not to the same magnitude. What did we hold them to? Like 40?
40 yards.
40 even. I'm not going to say to that, but I'm going to say under their average. Okay. And I think we do a good job here because I think the defensive front says, all right, let's help our boys out and back. And let's get it done. So, yeah, I feel confident in that. Not much else, but I feel confident that they can stop the run.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't help them the fact that their tight end group is so beat up because they'd like to come out there and use those heavy packages because they're so athletic at the same time. So not only can they run block like crazy with 3 tight ends, they can also play action off of that and then use those athletic tight ends to get mismatches on linebackers and stuff like that. So that's certainly going to limit their play calling and their scheme. But I think what they want to do is force the Baker Mayfield to beat you. And so right now the Browns are 17th in the league in total yards, but they're 24th in passing yards. So it's clear that they don't want Baker to have to win this game. They want to establish the run and use play action pass off of that run to hopefully get free runners and hit big chunk plays down the field. That's how they've always operated, and that's how they'll continue to operate. But right now, I don't know how much confidence they have Baker can like lead their team back from a deficit or carry their team if they wanted to go a pass happy scheme, because he's 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions as a team. And of course, that's including the one start from Case Keenum. But this is clearly a team that needs to move the ball on the ground to establish that first and then use the passing game off of that. But with that 1 week of rest, Jimmy, Baker's had some time to maybe at least – he's not going to fix the shoulder injury. That needs surgery. But he could improve the heel, could improve the groin injury because he was pretty banged up everywhere. Any worry, any thoughts that maybe he'll be a better version of what we saw in Baltimore, and that might be good enough to be the difference? I guess I shouldn't have asked you a Baker question.
Yeah. Confidence in Baker Mayfield, me? Man, you're coming to the wrong place.
Concern? I mean,
no. Baker Mayfield has never concerned me a day in my life, and he never will. No, I'm not concerned about Baker Mayfield. You know why? Because his weapons are not picture perfect and the best in the league. And if they're not that, he's not going to succeed. I just don't believe it. I don't. His offensive line is banged up. He has no one to take the top off the defense. And you know what? If Lamar Jackson were under center, I'd be like, yeah, this team's going to the Super Bowl. But there's a world of difference between Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. So Baker just doesn't have it. So I'm not concerned. No concern for me about Baker. Are you? You concerned?
I mean, I don't think he could have gotten a whole lot healthier. And even if he was healthy, I don't know if it's the physical. I mean, I think the shoulder's impacting him, but I don't know if it's the physical thing that bothers him the most or the mental. I think a lot of it's just upstairs in between the ears. And that's not going to get fixed by a simple
think about this. He was in college as healthy as can be and got caught by some cops. He couldn't even take off. He couldn't even escape them. Could you imagine if that was somebody? Lamar Jackson would have put them dudes, he would have turned them into pretzels. I mean, even if
there's a funny viral video that went around where a guy was running from some cops and just jumping over fences, and he played the Mario theme song to it.
Yeah,
that's what I can imagine. With Lamar, Baker, you're right. It was disappointing. I mean, Baker made it about 3 feet and was immediately tackled and apprehended by the police. Like, he got absolutely nowhere. Like, so yeah, you're right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that here's what I think we can guarantee. This is a kitchen sink game, as they call it, for the Browns. Yeah. They are going to hit you with everything they have. They're going to unlock any vault they might have. And they're going to open it up, and they're going to cipher through and find any play they've never ran. They may have practiced it, but they've never showed on tape. So that's what I would say.
Their vault?
Oh, they're going in their vault. They need this game. This is an absolute must-win. They can't fall to 6-7 and think they have any chance at certainly the North, but even the wild card. I mean, that means they have to win out, and they still have a lot of tough games on their schedule. So, in my opinion, get ready for some trick plays. Get ready for some plays you've never seen Stefanski run in the history of his game as calling plays, whether that's here or back in Minnesota. This is an all-out game for the Browns. Mm-hmm. They can't lose it. No team should lose a game where you've only focused on one team for 3 weeks and you had a bye week leading into your second matchup at home. Every single thing is pointing against the Ravens right now. Mm-hmm. So the Browns can't lose this game. I mean, as much as a must win for the Ravens, this is a dire need must win for the Browns. Mm-hmm. So get ready for everything they got.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Baker up on that podium after this game, just with the mustache, nothing with the mustache or something. He'll go with that look again. Do something foolish to like rally the troops.
The Gardner Minshew stash.
Yeah, somehow facial hair will make his team more excited to play football for him. Yeah. Oh gosh, I could go on for days. We're gonna do an episode in the offseason. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield?
Oh,
yeah, that's a tough proposition.
That's like asking if I'd rather be shot or stabbed. They both suck. I don't want either.
Dude, I talked to a guy that's been stabbed and shot before. He said getting stabbed is way worse.
Okay, well, there we go.
Apparently it burns like nothing else.
Mystery solved.
All right, on to the next. Let's get to, we've talked about their offense, and they have some weapons, of course, to look out for that we've talked about. But I want to talk about the Ravens defense, Glenn. Mm-hmm. The Ravens defense it's funny because throughout the recent struggles of the Ravens, the defense hasn't been playing terrible. Certainly they've had their terrible moments. I think the biggest concern right now is health. But as far as the Ravens defense goes from a rank perspective, let me give you some ranks here. So the Ravens rank 20th overall, first in the rush, 31st in the pass, 9th in scoring. And once again, to put some numbers behind that, we're allowing 21.7 points per game. Let's see here. Just net passing yards. We'll go with some net passing
because that's
yards.
key. Because passing yards is a whole, but when you have the most sacked quarterback, you got to look at net passing yards.
Yeah, because there's a difference between passing yards and net passing yards for the Ravens by 20 yards. So I gave you the net. It's 240, but no. What I mean, per game.
Per game? That means
so if you look at the Ravens, loss of 20 yards per game, right?
In sacks.
Yeah. There's a difference between Ravens passing yards stat and net of 20 yards. It's 260 and 240.
Ridiculous, Jimbo. I mean, we could do a whole show on just that gap of net and actual passing yard. 20 yards a game? You average 20 yards backwards in sack?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. A game?
A game, Jimbo?
Oh, man. But so we give up 272 net a game in passing, but only 84 in rushing, which I said is ranked first in the league. So, look, I think this defense gets it done this week, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But, Glenn, what is your defensive key to this game for the Ravens to have any chance to get a victory in Cleveland?
It's tackling. I mean, look,
not changing, huh?
Yeah, I'm not changing. I mean, I could come talk about the run. I could talk about, putting the ball in Baker's hand. But to me, it comes down to tackling, because they're going to look to get these guys, their playmakers, in space and hope that they can make plays. And so I think we see a lot more of Kareem Hunt than we did in the first matchup, as I think he had a bit of a tweak to an injury, because we didn't see a ton of Kareem Hunt. It was kind of surprising that we didn't see more of him, despite him having actually more success, I think, in spurts than Nick Chubb did. So I think we see a lot more of Kareem Hunt in the passing game, the short passing game. I think Jarvis Landry, Jarvis had a pretty damn good game. If you look at that last matchup, he had 10 targets, I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, Jarvis had 10 targets. He turned that into 6 catches for 111 yards. I think we see more of Jarvis Landry, especially when they see Marlon Humphrey. He did that when Marlon Humphrey was healthy. Now we don't have Marlon Humphrey. So look for Jarvis, look for Donovan Peoples-Jones to be another key part in their game. But to me, it's all about tackling. If you can't get the guys on the ground, we've seen it all year, where a short 5 to 6 yard pass turns into a 60-yard play because you can't get a guy on the ground. So to me, this game more than ever, tackling is of the utmost importance when you talk about how shorthanded the Ravens are in the secondary, especially. I mean, if you talk about our defenses and who's our most solid tacklers, I think Deshaun Elliott will be right up there at top, and I think Marlon Humphrey will be right up there at the top. Both those guys are gone from this secondary. So those guys filling in. Brandon Stevens got to take good angles, got to tackle well when you get there. Chuck Clark, he's had missed practices this week for personal issues. Hopefully he's good. I think he will be. He's got to have a great game. All comes down to, are they tackling? Are they not tackling?
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you on that, Glenn. The only thing I would add to that, and you kind of mentioned at the beginning, is before you gave your key, is just simply stopping the run. Mm-hmm. I think that we can do that and put the ball in Baker's hands. And another guy, of course, that's a big deal in this game where we're assuming it's going to be close, that is out, is their punter. I think also, who's fully vaccinated, went into COVID protocol. I don't say that to I'm not trying to be an anti-vaxxer or anything like that. I wasn't, but it was in the news that, he was fully vaccinated. So there was potential that he could come back sooner, is my point.
Okay.
But he still hasn't tested negative as of yet. So he will be out of this game. They signed a new guy.
Can't be hard to find a punter though, just to
but even still, it's a new relationship with the snapper. It's first time with the team.
Opportunity for mistakes. Yep.
Certainly. So different, when in a close game, field position is just another part of that strategy. And so it could be another factor in this game as well. All right, Glenn, give me your, I just saw who it is. Give me your defensive breakout player of the game, Mr. Invisible himself.
Oh, come on now. He's had moments, but you're right. Lately, he needs to get back out on the scene. I think this is the game he does it. We need Odafe Owe to have a big game. We their offensive line is dinged up, but our secondary is even more dinged up. And so what's the best way to help an ailing and depleted secondary is a great pass rush. And I think we need to see Odafe Owe put in position where he can do what he does best. I don't want to see this, well, let's try him inside. Let's develop him as an inside guy. We don't want him to be, he mentioned, I don't want to be just an edge rusher. I want to have complete game. I want to be able to rush from any position on the offensive line. I want to be just as good against the run as I am as a pass rusher. Can we wait to develop him a different time in those areas? I want to see this guy on the edge, using his speed, using his athleticism, and take advantage of that right tackle who's in there for Jack Conklin. He's not as good. It's hard to be as good as an all-pro like Jack Conklin. But
yeah,
regardless, you got to take advantage where you can. If J.C. Treader is missing at center, then we need to – look, we got to find a way to get pass rush, and I think Odafe Owe right now is our best weapon to do so. So I got him being my breakout player, and I'm hopeful. We've been talking all year. Will this be the week he gets double-digit? Well, we've seen a lot of weeks where we don't even hear his name called. So this might finally be that week, Jimbo, where he gets double-digit – or 2 sacks, more than one.
Yeah, I was like, double-digit sacks. That would be I said that last time. That would be – yeah, you did. Second time in a row, my man.
It's been a long day, Jimbo.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Odafe does. I hope he has himself a game as well. But I'm going with Old Faithful in the middle, and I talked about this with Treader being out. I think Calais Campbell eats in this game. I think he eats and gets to Baker. So I'm going to guess he has a sack, and I'm going to guess he has a tip ball for an interception.
Okay.
Calais Campbell is going to have himself a football
That's a game.
Look, Calais Campbell has been coming through for us. If you look at those big defensive moments where we've had to make stops, 93 has played a part in that, whether you knew it or not. Yep. And a big part in that. There's been moments, of course, where he's been the contributor and other moments where he hasn't been the direct contributor, but certainly changed the player, altered it, affected in some way. I think he has a monster game. He's a leader of this team. He's going to step up, knows that the secondary needs some help. And I think he's going to do it. He's going to be slinging around some offensive linemen, eating them for breakfast. And, I think Calais Campbell gets it done. So I'm going with my boy CC Calais Campbell.
Okay. And we will take contributors from anywhere. If it is like Dewan mentioned, if it's Tyus Bowser, I'll take that as well.
Absolutely.
If it's Justin Houston, I'll take that too. Whoever it is needs to get to Baker, because there's going to be opportunities where these corners we got are going to, Donovan Peoples-Jones might run by Chris Westry. So let's get to Baker and at least affect the pass and hope that's enough. But let's get into our newest segment of our preview shows. And that is, of course, can one member of the opposing team beat Jake Paul in a fight? So this week we decided to go with Nick Chubb, because last time we went with Myles Garrett and it was a resounding yes. And we didn't even bring up the fact that he can swing a helmet at someone's head with the best of them. We just simply brought up his physical stature, his off-season training in MMA. But this time we're talking Nick Chubb. And if you guys ever want to see what type of physical freak he is, it's hard to tell when you compare him next to other physical freaks in the NFL. But just look up
Don't worry, I'm going to help you.
Track team. Oh, you're going to pull it up? Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because you can really see what an NFL athlete, anybody who is like, man, I want to get in the league one day. This is what an NFL athlete looks like when he's amongst normal high school players.
Yeah, because this kid right here, look, this is Nick Chubb running track. If you can see this kid in the second image that's wearing the orange shirt, that's a jacked kid for high school, the kid he's running against.
Yeah, look at the size of Nick Chubb in high school.
Massive. I mean, this is ridiculous.
He looks like a stepdad already. Like, just the biggest.
My favorite one is this one when they're at the starting blocks and he's jumping in the air it's just his vertical.
And he's going
up at the kid's head. Like, it's just ridiculous. Yes. So look, I'm going with yes. I don't think Jake Paul makes Nick Chubb bleed. I think Nick Chubb has a jaw of iron and just absolutely I don't think Jake Paul can do anything to Nick Chubb. I don't think he can do a thing. I think he could just stick his chin out there like this and he would just eat him all day.
Yeah, he certainly looks like he can take a punch. But you know what? In this one, I'm going to go Jake Paul, only because I don't know how much training Nick Chubb has had, and we can at least agree Jake Paul's had a couple years of training. Sure. But if Nick Chubb was allotted the same amount of time, or even half of the training, maybe a tenth. Yeah, I would certainly switch it up. But I got to give credit where it's due, and Jake Paul at least has won a couple. Whether they're legitimate wins, we'll never know. If there's some contractual agreements, who knows? Looks like Is he the one fighting Tyron Woodley for the second time, which is an absolute laughable joke, because Tyron Woodley got the snooze. He had the snooze fest of all snooze every time he fights in the anyway. Tyron Woodley is he's just never does anything. But all right, let's move on to our.
DK did pose a question. Would Kareem Hunt would he
look if this was kickboxing?
Would he stand a better chance against Jake Paul? I tell you what, Kareem Hunt's got speed. He's got one thing. He's got speed. If he's got speed in them hands, that might be another problem. I'm going with Jake Paul in this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kareem Hunt is quite the physical freak that Nick Chubb is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. I mean, I think it's a little bit different. Dawson understands where I was getting at, but can't. I don't want to go down that lane because I don't want to. Anyway. All right. So let's move on to our next segment. Before we get into our competition, the most important thing that we do in our preview shows is, of course, our competition. And I'm sure DK is ready to show our most recent results, which we can.
He's
quickly.
Not ready.
Okay, good. Because but first, because we got to talk symbol, Jimbo. We got to talk symbol before we even get into the competition. And so, Jimbo, what is our most what is an update on our portfolio?
Yeah, I want you to give an update, Glenn, because you had a good idea last week at the end of the show, and we decided to buy in. But just so you guys know, every week we talk about this. Symbol is awesome. It is the stock market for sports, guys. Mm-hmm. If everyone puts their money into sports gambling and they lose it. That's why sports gambling companies can give people so much money because everyone's tempted by it and then they lose it. Just so you know, the house wins. It always ends that way 9 times out of 10. So that being said, invest instead of gamble. Go with Symbol. Put your money in for a long period of time. You can buy stocks of teams in all major sports. Win money by the stock going up, following a trend, see if you discover a trend, or win money by game payouts. Every single time your team wins, you make money per share. And Glenn thinks he's found a trend. Mm-hmm. We are buying low. We are buying hella low.
And I encourage everyone to get on this train. I mean, go to symbol.app, use promo code 410, and buy Detroit Lions stock. And I'll tell you why. For one, they have a coach there that they absolutely love and will fight for. And then they're on track right now to easily get the number 1 overall pick. And let's say they buy into Jared Goff and they think, you know what, Jared Goff is good enough if you surround him with a good surrounding cast. That would be ideal because then they could trade back because everyone's going to fall in love with that first overall quarterback. They're going to say he's the guy. He's going to change our system. And they're going to give up a ton of draft capital to go get him. And if the Lions are smart, they'll drop just a couple spots. Use that capital to get the best player that's not a quarterback. They could even get multiple first-round picks after the haul they got for trading Stafford away. And this team could be the team of the next few years. I mean, I look at this team, I say, man, they got a ton of draft picks. They got a coach that they love and will fight for. And their stock is incredibly low. So buy low, invest a bunch of money in this team, and in a couple years, you're going to be cleaning up. Even next year, once they get this number 1 overall pick and start building momentum, their stock is going to fly through the roof. And even throughout the rest of the year, there's no reason to expect that they can't win a couple more games after what they did last week. So I think you could get a big investment a big payout as far as your short term, and certainly a big time payout if you're talking long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, in fact, from the time we bought to now, it's gone up 63 cents per share. So certainly get in now would be our suggestion. The other thing I would mention too is that you talked about it, Glenn, the timing with this, guys. If you're new to Symbol, it's all about timing, right? So in the offseason, that stock is going to go up if they get the number 1 pick at the end of the season. It's going to go up again when speculation starts to swirl. Yep. It's going to go up again on draft night. Yep. Right. So there's a lot of
everyone will fall in love with them. I mean, there's going to be a quarter. Yeah, you're right. Spooky J, you're right. There's not that consensus number 1 right now. But Jimmy, where did you think Kyle Wilson was ranked before he had that throw in his gym shorts where he rolled out and hit that beautiful?
Yeah.
Nobody knew who he was. Boom. Now he's the 2nd overall pick, and some are saying that he should be above Trevor Lawrence. So it's going to happen. There's going to be a guy that everyone falls in love with.
Pickett is percolating, and now he's going to the Senior Bowl. Like, things happen. It's definitely going to be interesting. So, look, I think Glenn's spitting some facts right now. And I certainly agreed enough to put some money into it. So go check out Symbol. It's an awesome platform where you can actually make some money. And the really cool thing, guys, is you get up to $500 you can invest risk-free for 6 months.
6 months.
So basically what happens if you go in, use the promo code 410, you can invest up to $500. And if you start losing money and you don't like it, in 6 months, you back out, you get your money back.
Yeah.
Up to $500.
No risk. So why not do it? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer with Detroit. But of course, we always encourage to buy Raven stock because I don't think that's a bad idea either. What's going on, Cakes? Appreciate you coming out. Look forward to talking with you on Tuesday. Right. Absolutely. Can't wait. But all right, let's get into our competition because I feel like I don't know. I feel like the universe wants me to be back to where I belong on the top.
Because one person does?
No, the universe does. Hold on. One person, Jimbo. It's more than one.
Yeah, he's playing, Cakes. He's playing.
Yeah, but he's saying he better come to play. Yeah, you're right. We need a big performance because Landry and Donovan Peoples-Jones, they're both going to be looking to have a big breakout game.
And Jimmy is just looking his age these days, man.
He looks like J.J. Hardy his last year as an Oriole, where he looked like an old man running down to first base. His knees were about to buckle. It was a disaster. But all right, let's get into our competition. Every week we have a series of over-unders as well as some closest to the pin tiebreakers. And we use those in order to pick a show winner and, of course, a fan winner. And every fan winner gets a T-shirt, a 410 Sports Talk T-shirt sent to them in the mail. So this is it's an absolutely free competition to enter. You simply DM us on any of the major social network platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or leave a comment after the live session is over in this video. Leave the comment up below, and you will certainly be entered in that competition. We'll announce the winner in our live post-game show, and then simply send us your size, address in another DM, and a shirt will show up, and it might just get there before Christmas. We'll have to wait and see about that.
If you're on the good, what is it? Naughty or nice? What's the list?
I think it's that list.
The naughty or nice list. If you're on the nice list, look, 410 Sports Talk might put the beard on and send you the shirt before Christmas.
And Lisa Ann, I need you to participate. I don't know if you have every.
She's going to give you the spirit fingers. She's going to give you the spirit.
Well,
fingers,
I want you to get your over unders in there. That way, you know, hopefully we can send you one. So I appreciate, of course, all the support. At least I know I got somebody on my side here, Jimbo, because them two, it's starting to feel like James and DK are both teaming up against me, and that's fine. That's fine because I'm about to win.
How?
I just feel like if there's one guy you both want to make sure he doesn't win, it's me. Like if DK had to pick someone other than himself to win, he's definitely picking you, and I think the same can be said.
But you know, Glenn, you can't talk the smack and then play the victim. You can't do both.
I'm not playing the victim. I'm simply pointing out an obvious truth that you guys are clearly. But all right, let's get into the competition. So
I love it. Look, you guys just gotta look into our entire childhood because this was pretty much it in everything.
Yep, in the Haskell's basement. Yes. But let's get into. Do we have any of the results ready or not? If not, we can just move on. Okay, good. Because I didn't need to hear that music or see that damn accuracy thing either. All right, so the first over-under in our competition is the Ravens' total rushing attempts. Now, that is including any player who notches a rush. So where it's Lamar, one of the running backs, or even Devin Duvernay if it's handed to him. Last time they played, the Ravens rushed the ball 43 times against the Cleveland Browns. So that's where it's set at, 43.5. Jimbo, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm saying under in this one. I'm going under. I think the Ravens are going to put the ball in the air a little more and have some success doing that because I think that's going to be a big reason for them overcoming the blitz is making the easy pass, finding the hot, and with them having a banged up secondary. I think it'll be even more encouraging. And then overall, I think the offense realizes they're going to have to put up points. I think they're going to have to carry a little more of a load. So I'm going over. What about you?
You're going over?
I mean, excuse me. Under. Apologies.
Man,
under.
I was about to say. Now, you know what? And I'm going to go under as well, but I'm a little nervous about this one. I think that 43 is high.
Well, don't be nervous because I'm the worst at over-under. I mean, not in accuracy, but in winning.
You didn't have to say that little. You know. You didn't have to
I'm the
throw in
worst.
the accuracy thing. But I will say I'm nervous about this because of one reason. I feel like the Ravens know if they want to have a successful run attack, it's going to have to be a lot of carries, unfortunately, for Lamar
From number
Jackson.
8. Yeah.
So, and I think that they might look at this as, look, we're going to have to run them, 18, 20 times. And if that's the case, then I could see it going over. But for this, I'm going to say under, but I am a little nervous, even though that seems like a high number. So, DK, what do you got? Over. Okay, so DK, this could be the first where he starts to separate himself or he falls behind. So let's move on to the next one to see where we go from here. So we have passing attempts, and then assuming this is also Ravens. So Ravens passing attempts, 32.5 is the over-under. Last time we had 32. Excuse me. So Jimmy, where are you going this time? Over under 32.5.
Yeah, I mean, so last time in the last one I went under. I think they have a relationship there between the rushing attempts and the passing attempts naturally. So if I'm going under in passing attempts, I'm going over. If I'm going under in rushing attempts, I'm going over in passing attempts. I don't think it will be a ton over. The recipe is not to have Lamar Jackson throw the ball 50 times a game, but I could see it being 33 to 35, something of that nature. So I'm going over just a tick, but over.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And to me, I'm going to go under. I think it's close, but I do think it's under. The reason I say under on both, I think maybe I'm just being a little optimistic, but I think maybe we have a little more success, and that means less total plays.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Because they eat up a little bit more yardage. So for that reason, I'm going to say under. And DK, what do you got? Under as well. So I like this. We have a lot of disagreeing in these first couple here. So Jimmy, you're the one that kind of jumped out on a limb there by yourself. And I hope that limb breaks and you fall to the ground. All right. Now defensively. Thanks. We're going to get into some over-unders, and we have
deal with, guys.
The first of which is the Browns rushing long. So whatever their longest run attempt of the game, we will count that, and we set it at 15.5 as the over-under. I'll start this one, Jimmy. I think they go over that. I think they're going to make a real effort running the ball, and I think they pop one for at least around, let's say, 18 to 20, and I think it's Kareem Hunt actually, and not Nick Chubb. So I'm going to go over on their long. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm going over as well because we can't tackle.
Even though we did last time.
Yeah, but it's, relatively inconsistent. Right. So it only takes one play, right? Nick Chubb breaking it for 15 yards doesn't seem out of the ordinary for me.
Wouldn't shock me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going over.
Okay, DK, what do you got? Under. I love how we're not all in agreement on any of these.
So if he gets past the first two, if he gets to the secondary, is anyone going to tackle Nick Chubb? Let's be honest.
It's going to take a group effort.
Brandon Stevens trying to tackle Nick Chubb?
Yeah.
Anthony Averett, I just think, would punch at the ball.
Yeah, it'd be tough for him. I think Anthony Averett would hang on and wait for help.
Maybe Chuck Clark if he's by the sideline.
Maybe he can push him out. Yeah. It's not going to be easy. No DB has an easy time tackling Nick Chubb in the open. And then the final defensive over-under, we have Ravens passes defended. So total pass breakups by your Raven defenders. Set it at 6.5 pass deflections. And I'm going to say under. It's hard for me to rely on this secondary to do much. And as far as disrupting and all that, I just have to see it until I can believe it. So I'm going to say under 6.5 pass breakups. What do you think, Jimbo?
Yeah, I'm going under as well. I honestly don't know what our game average is right now, but in the last game it was 7. I think that Marlon being out of the game, which if I'm not mistaken, didn't he lead the league in pass breakups when he was targeted?
Well, he left the league in most forced incompletions as the primary target. But I don't know if that includes all pass breakups.
Gotcha. So I think either way, somehow that equates into this formula. And I think it'll make a difference. And so, I think he's going to.
He's by far our team leader, by the way. He has 13 on the season. Anthony Averett is second with 9.
Yeah, so I'm going under.
Okay, what do you think, Jimbo? DK? Under. So the first one we all agree on is the final of the 4 over-unders. All right, so then if we see a tie amongst the fans or our show here after the over-unders, we go to a series of tiebreakers. The first of which is the total score, and the second is total yards for the Ravens. So I'll start first with the total yards, and we'll end with our score prediction. So to me, total yards, I don't think this is a game where they necessarily have their best, but I think they do. I think they do have a decent performance.
Really,
And
Glenn?
what?
With your pick here? With your number?
What's wrong with my number, dude? You don't like that? What's wrong? You see a little gamesmanship in
Yeah, a
there?
little strategy. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it was one of those things where I saw it and I couldn't say any. I meant to say it in my head, and it just.
Yeah, I'm getting DK. I'm coming for DK, okay? And yeah, I use this. I prices right the hell out of them. Yes, you're damn right. Last time they played, the Ravens had 303 yards. I think they have a little bit better performance. And I came out with this number completely off the top of my head out of the clear blue sky with no outside influences. And I have the Ravens going for 324 yards. What do you think, Jimbo?
Yeah, I'm going a little bit more. I'm going 340.
I thought you were going to go 326.
I should. But yeah, I'm going 340. Just a tick more.
Okay.
Right around our combined average. I think it's 10 yards under if you look at our, whatever it is. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going 340. What about you, DK?
325. Man, you really didn't leave yourself much of a window there, DK. I mean, yeah. I can't help but notice that you only win if the Ravens have a total yards of between 325 and what's that, 334-ish or 333. You have a pretty small window. But hey, I mean, if that's your strategy, it's risky, but maybe it'll pay off for
you. What are you going to do when DK wins?
I know. And he wins because of that. It's exactly 325. I wouldn't know what to do. But honestly, I probably wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I probably wouldn't even be surprised because it's DK. But all right, let's go to our final tiebreaker and the most important thing, and that is our score predictions. Jimbo, I'll let you start us off.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm the anomaly in this one, but I think that our offense has to put up numbers in this game. I think that while it's been relatively putrid from our offensive scoring, I think they know and what's going on defensively these days, and they're going to have to put up numbers. So I'm going with a close game, but a Ravens win nonetheless. Who would have thought that we sweep the Browns coming into the season? But I think we get it done 31-30 is what I think it ends up being. 61 points.
Okay, all right. Well, I hate to do this. I don't even feel right doing this, Jimbo.
Wait, what are you about to do?
It actually, it makes me really sad that I'm going to do this, but I really want to win.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I think I know what you're going to do. So before you do it, just remember the Chiefs game.
Yeah, that didn't feel good, but
because I'm going to rub it in.
There's so many things working against the Ravens and in the favor of the Cleveland Browns that unfortunately I'm going to predict that the Browns win this game by the score of 20-17 for a grand total of 37. I just think there's just so many factors going against the Ravens. I mean, the only team they play in the 3 week, the only team they study for 3 weeks, the only time in history I've ever heard of a team playing a team, having a week off to then evaluate that exact matchup and then play that team the very following week after that at home in a divisional matchup. I just think there's too many things stacked against the Ravens. And so for that reason, although I hope I am completely wrong, I'm going to say the Ravens lose 20-17.
Yeah, Lisa, you better get after him on this one. Better get after him, Lisa.
I'm not happy about this. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Prince Quan at least agrees with me. It's rare that Prince Quan agrees with me. So maybe I'll just take that as my silver lining. At least I have and look, Lisa Ann says she ain't
45-10 Ravens, baby.
Oh, man, I don't want to go against our team.
Get him, guys. Get him.
It's just so many factors against us. But I hope I'm wrong. I really, truly do.
Oh, this is great. I love this. I can't wait to see what happens. DK, what do you got? If you pick the Browns. 21-17 Ravens.
Total score. Weird how that worked out. I don't know how I completely flew that out of clear blue sky. Oh, Ravens Nation, I'm so sorry. Man, I'm letting some people down.
Yeah,
I was the chosen one.
Come on over, guys. Come on. I'll take all your votes, baby. I'll take all of them.
I want to be wrong so bad. But certainly remember, everyone, please participate in our challenge. It's so simple. You just simply DM us on any of the major platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or wait for this live to be over and send a comment at the bottom of this video, and we will certainly review all the applicants and and announce the winner in our post-game live.
Yeah, and I just want to add a couple things. One, the week of Christmas, Santa Claus might be coming around, and we might change up the reward for our competition, Glenn. We might put a little more skin in the game, so make sure you guys are competing every week. Get practice nonetheless for that week of Christmas as the Ravens play, because we might up the ante a little bit. Number two, Forte Sports Talk is here for the people. Right. Number two, on the heels of Pat McAfee getting this massive deal by FanDuel, I absolutely want to thank all of you guys that watch our show every single episode, live or recorded. We could not have done it without you. Like Pat always talks about how it's stupid that they have any notoriety at all. He's a former player. So the pedestal he started on was much higher than we are. I'm literally in my basement, and Glenn is in a spare bedroom that he's turned into a studio. We started this in my parents' basement. So thank you guys for everything. It's been an awesome ride this season. We're going to continue to do so.
And we're not going anywhere. Don't worry. This isn't a goodbye. This is just a thank you. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, I was watching his segment about it. I was like, you know what? I'm so grateful for the community that we've created here. It's an absolute blast. I feel like you're part of my family, our family. So thank you so much. We love it. But Glenn, we got to give some shout outs.
Yeah, absolutely. Nana Rave. Again, I'm sorry. This is not what I hope happens. This is what I unfortunately am predicting. Herb Jones, thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Prince Quan. Oh, we got something coming for you, Prince Quan. We got some. We got something in store for you. Spooky J, thanks for the continued support. Lisa Ann, did you see that, DK? Did you see what Lisa Ann's last comment was? Be nice, okay? Enough of these damn yous, okay? This is a Christian show. I don't know what it is. I
lost my mind. I'm losing it.
Lenny Beeson, appreciate the support. He's agreeing with me. And look, I'm not going to question his fandom. This is just a man who's being, realistic, being objective here.
Sure, be as objective as you want.
McDiamond,
I choose not to be.
Yes. McDiamond, thanks for all your support and your continued participation in our comments. We certainly appreciate it. Little Trev, thanks for the support. Yes, I am being. Yes, what?
Lil Trev.
There you
go.
My bad. I am putting a twang on it. All right, my bad. All right. Let's see. Ocho Millie. No, we ain't turning. I hope he's not saying we turning our back, because I'm definitely not. Just trying to keep it real. Z the Beast, appreciate you coming out. RTV, thanks again for always being active in our comments. Iman Thomas, you as well. Thanks a lot for always coming out and being active. Anyone I missed, thank you so much. Any silent observers, appreciate your guys' attention. Thank you so much. This was not a good.
Thanks, Nana.
She said, "Oh,
we love you too, Nana. We love you too." Look, she rides or dies with the Ravens. That's all she knows. We get it.
That's true.
We love you too, Nana. You can. I'll take your vote. Look, man, anytime. So, but we appreciate it, you guys. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks, James Carr. Appreciate you as well.
Absolutely. Right after the game, come right back here. Tell your friends, subscribe to the channel. Tell them to subscribe to the channel, and check out DK's writing on Patreon. It's literally $1 a month. You probably spend 35 times more than that on coffee a month. So it's $1 a month to get access to DK's articles. It's great stuff on our Patreon. Check it out.
And they said they put me up for adoption.
Glenn, you know what? Look, you guys can say whatever you want. I wouldn't rather be here with anybody else but Glenn.
Thanks, Jimbo.
So, yeah, Glenn ain't going nowhere. All right. So anyway, appreciate it. Had a blast tonight. Thank you guys so much, and join us right after the game. We will talk to you soon.